Hello students, in today's lecture we are going to learn about electric charges and fields, and this is theory part. Disclaimer: the images, text and other materials used in our presentations are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners. If you are the owner and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the content immediately. Please note that parts of the content may have been generated using generative AI, which is experimental. So in today's class, we will calculate the electric field due to two key points related to a thin spherical cell, or we can say uniformly charged thin spherical cell. Our first key point is a point inside the spherical cell. It means R is greater than R. R is, if we talk about the inside, R is less than R. Second is a point outside the spherical cell. It means R is greater than R. This R, small r, represents the point and capital R represents the radius of the thin spherical cell. Here we assumed that the cell is to be thin and the total charge is uniformly distributed over its surface. Total charge distributed over its surface. Due to symmetry, or we can say due to spherical symmetry, the electric field vector at any point radially outward and due to positive charge, and radially inward if the charge is negative. Similarly, if we talk about the area vector on a Gaussian surface, also points radially outward and similarly for the when R is less than radius. So here the uniform charge density is sigma of a thin spherical cell of radius R exhibits spherical symmetry, and we have to find out the field at point P as shown in figure, which depends on the radial distance R, and R must be radial. So first case is field outside the cell. Outside means the point lie outside of the spherical cell. So the circle, the radius R represents a spherical cell and point lie outside, P point as shown in the figure. So here R is greater than radius of the thin spherical cell. In that case, first we draw Gaussian surface of radius R. Look at figure, the dotted lines shows the Gaussian surface through point P, and the electric field E and surface element delta S are parallel because the direction of electric field is perpendicular to surface of charged thin spherical cell. Similarly, area vector is also perpendicular on uniformly charged thin spherical cell. So both are parallel to each other. Now the total flux is E into 4 pi r square. The formula to calculate the flux, phi equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. So here E into 4 pi r square is the total flux. Enclosed charge is sigma into 4 pi r square. So now applying Gauss's law, so it will be E into 4 pi r square is equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught multiply with 4 pi r square. So we know phi is equal to what? Total charge enclosed by the closed surface or closed volume divided by epsilon naught. And Q enclosed is what? Here density is surface charge density. It means sigma is equal to charge upon area, and charge will be sigma into area. So and area is what? Area is 4 pi r square. So just substitute the value of area, that is 4 pi r square. You will be get sigma 4 pi r square divided by epsilon naught. Now solve this. So 4 pi cancel out. Similarly, the equation become E is equal to sigma r square divided by epsilon naught r square is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. So this is the field at a point P due to uniformly charged thin spherical cell. Vectorially, E is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square r cap. Now here one question for you. Here E is, from this relation, E is inversely proportional to r square. Yes or no? From this relation, it means if the value of r is increases, value of E decreases, because both are inversely proportional. Now what is the graphical representation between E and R? So it will be what? It will be like this. E and R. Where we know Q is equal to 4 pi r square sigma is the total charge. And the field is outward, for Q should be positive. And field is inward, Q should be negative. Or we can say equivalent to a point charge at center O. So now we talk about the field due to a uniformly charged thin spherical cell when point lies inside the cell. So P point as shown in the figure. So field inside the cell, R is less than R. So using the Gaussian surface, the dotted line shows the Gaussian surface. Here the direction of electric field is radially outward and direction of area vector is radially outward. So both are parallel, it means theta is equal to 0 degree. So the value of electric flux is 0 because phi is equal to total charge enclosed by the closed surface. So there is a total charge is 0. So phi equal to 0. One another method to calculate the flux, that is phi is equal to E dot ds. E dot ds. So after solving you will be get E into E ds cos theta. Theta is equal to 0 degree. So E is equal to ds. Now but here we talk about the point lies inside the spherical cell. So due to absence of charge there will be there is a no flux and E is equal to 0 when we talk about R is less than R. Clear? This is a due to thin spherical cell. So both the point filled due to when a point inside the spherical cell when r is less than radius, and second one is a point outside the spherical cell when r is greater than r, or we can say beyond the cell surface. So both are important for the exam. Now summary. So we studied electric charge. What is electric charge? A fundamental property of matter, and it is measured in coulombs, denoted by C. Yes or no? Like charges repel and unlike charges attract. This is the property of charges. By convention, charge on a glass rod rubbed with silk is positive, and that on a plastic rod rubbed with fur is then negative. Next, conductors. What is conductors? Conductors allow movement of electric charge through them, whereas insulator do not. A conductor is a material through which electricity can pass. Electric charge has three basic properties. First is the quantization, second is additivity, third is conservation. Means quantization of charge, additivity of charge, and conservation of charge. So our first property is quantization of charge. Quantization of charge, or we can say quantization of electric charge, means total charge Q of a body is always an integral multiple of a basic quantum charge, and that is E. So mathematically we can write Q is equal to NE, where E is the charge on a electron. What is the numerical value of E? 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 19 coulomb, and N is equal to 0 plus minus 2 and so on. Proton and electron have charges on proton plus E and on electron minus E, respectively. Second property is additivity of electric charges, means that total charge of a system is algebraic sum, the sum taking into account proper signs of all individual charges in the system. It means charges follow all ordinary algebra rules. Suppose we have a 2 charge. Solve this question. Q1 is equal to 3 microcoulomb and Q2 is equal to 2 microcoulomb. What will be the net charge? Q1 plus Q2 is what? 3 microcoulomb plus 2 microcoulomb equal to 5 microcoulomb. It means charges can be added like a algebra. Third property is conservation of electric charge. So according to conservation of electric charge, charges neither be created nor be destroyed, only transform one form to other. It can be only transfer. So conservation of electric charge means the total charge of an isolated system remains unchanged with time. It means it does not depend on time. This means when bodies are charged through friction, there is a only transfer of electric charge from one body to another. Only transfer of what? Electric charge, but no creation or destruction of charge. It means charge is neither be created nor be destroyed. I hope these three basic properties are clear. Yes or no? Coulomb's law. So here question arises, what is Coulomb's law? Coulomb's law gives a force between 2-point charges. So we have a 2-point charge Q1 and Q2 proportional to the product Q1 and Q2. It means F is directly proportional to product of these two charges Q1 and Q2 and inversely proportional to square of distance, this one, and this distance is separate the charges. So final equation will be what? F is equal to inversely proportional to R square and directly proportional to Q1 and Q2. When we removing the proportionality sign, there is a constant term and that is what? K. So F is equal to K Q1 Q2 divided by R square. So this is the force between 2-point charges according to the Coulomb's law. Mathematically, or we can say in vector form, F21, it means what? The force on charge second due to first is equal to K Q1 Q2 divided by R21 square. R221 cap, it denotes the direction of the force. And if we talk about the F12, it means the force on charge first due to charge second, and it can be written in the form like a K Q1 Q2 divided by R square 12 R cap 12. Where R cap 21 is a unit vector in the direction from Q1 to Q2 and K is a constant, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, or we can say constant of proportionality. Here one question for you, R cap 21, what is the meaning of this term? You know, yes or no? Suppose we have a 2-point charges Q1 and Q2 and both are positive. If the Q1, the force on charge Q2, listen carefully, the force on charge Q2 due to charge Q1 is this one and both are positive, it means the direction is outward. So F R cap 21 shows the direction of the force, that's it, or we can say unit vector. If we talk about the SI unit, so it is Coulomb. The SI unit of charge is Coulomb. The experimental value of epsilon naught, here epsilon naught is a experimental value, or we can say it is a permittivity, it gives permission. It gives permission, and the experimental value is 8.854 into 10 raised to the power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square. And when we calculated 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, which is equal to K, so the numerical value of K is 9 into 10 raised to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. And the ratio of electric force and gravitational force. In more detail about the gravitational force, we will learn in gravitational chapter. So the ratio of electric force and gravitational force between a proton and an electron is Ke square divided by Gme mp, where Me is what? Mass of electron. Mp is mass of proton. Clear? G is a gravitational constant. K is also constant and is a electric charge. The value is 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 19 coulomb. And when we calculated all numerator and denominator term, after putting the respective values, you will be get 2.4 into 10 raised to the power 39. Now superposition principle. Now one question for you. What is the purpose of superposition principle? Superposition principle is based on property that the forces with which two charges attract or repel each other are not affected by the presence of a third additional charge. It means what? Superposition principle is based on, or we can say using this principle we can calculate the force on a charge, on a single charge due to multiple charges. Example, suppose we have a more than one charges q1, q2, q3. Clear? The force on any charge, say q1, is the vector sum of force on q1 due to q2 and the force on q1 due to q3 and so on. For each pair, the force is given by the Coulomb's law for two charges. So the electric field at a point due to charge configuration is the force on a small positive test charge q placed at the point divided by the magnitude of the charge. Now electric field due to a point charge q has magnitude q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. E is equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. From this relation it is clear that E is inversely proportional to r square. It means it is radially outwards for positive charge if charge is positive and radially inwards if the charge is negative. How we can determine the direction from the sign of the charge? Is the charge, if the charge is positive, direction is radially outward. If the charge is negative, direction is radially inwards. Clear? Like Coulomb force, electric field also satisfies superposition principle. Some important properties of field lines are: first is field lines are continuous curves without any breaks. Second is two field lines cannot cross each other. If two field lines cross to each other, suppose we have a two field lines, listen carefully, we have a two field lines, first and second. If they are close to each other at a given point, suppose this point, then what happens? At the point of intersection, suppose point P, at the point of intersection there is a two direction, which is not possible. That's why two field lines cannot cross each other. Third is electrostatic field lines start at positive charge and end at negative charge. They cannot form closed loops. Electric field lines cannot form closed loops. Now we talk about the dipole. What is dipole? A dipolar system of charges in which two equal and opposite charges separated by a small distance, and the small distance is 2a, and the small charges is q and minus 2a. Its dipole moment denoted by p vector and has magnitude q to 2qa. So suppose we have a charge q and minus q, and the separation is 2a. So we call it is a dipole, and the dipole moment is this one, and the direction of dipole moment is from negative q to positive q. Field of an electric dipole in its equatorial plane. Equatorial plane means, suppose we have a charge, we have a dipole, positive and negative q. If we talk about the equatorial plane, so on vertical axis, this one. So make a triangle like this. So equatorial plane is this one. The dot shows the equatorial point. And plane perpendicular to its axis and passing through its center at a distance r from the center. So what is the formula of the electric field if we talk about the equatorial plane? That is E is equal to minus P divided by 4 pi epsilon naught into 1 divided by a square plus r square whole power 3 by 2. Yes or no? So there is a condition, or we can say special case. When r is greater than a, when r is greater than a, in that case electric field is this one, minus P divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. The dipole electric field on the axis at a distance r from the center is this one. E is equal to 2pr divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square minus a square whole square. What is P? P is electric dipole moment, and the magnitude of P is equal to q 2a, separated by small distance. Now again there is a condition. If when r is greater than r, in that case electric field on the axis at a distance r is this one, 2p divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Clear? One upon r cube dependence of dipole electric fields should be noted in contrast to 1 upon r square dependence on the electric field due to a point charge. So from this relation, if we talk about the dipole electric field on the axis, so here E is inversely proportional to r square. In a uniform electric field E. Now if we talk about the uniform electric field, these parallel lines, the space between the arrows are equal in each case. The space between the arrows are equal. So these parallel lines are shows uniform electric field. If we talk about Ex, it means it is directed along x-axis. Now a dipole is when a dipole is placed in a uniform electric field, so the dipole charges feel a force, that is tau equal to P cross E. but experiences no net force. And the flux delta phi of electric field E through a small area element delta S is given by delta phi is equal to E dot delta S. And what is the dot product of E and ds delta S? It will be E delta S cos theta. Yes or no? The vector area element delta S is this one, delta S into n cap, where delta S is what? Delta is the magnitude of the area element and n cap is normal to the area element, which can be considered planar for sufficiently small area. For an area element of a closed surface, n cap is taken to be direction of outward normal by convention. Gauss's law. Gauss's law is a very important. So, the flux of electric field through any closed surface S is 1 upon epsilon naught times the total charge enclosed by the closed surface. So, phi is equal to Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. So, this is the Gauss law. Total charge enclosed by the closed surface divided by epsilon naught. First case is thin infinitely long straight wire of uniform linear charge density lambda. So, there is a 3 types of charge density: linear charge density, surface charge density and volume charge density. So, if we talk about the linear charge density, lambda is equal to charge upon length. If we talk about the surface charge density, sigma is equal to charge upon area. If we talk about the volume charge density, rho is equal to charge upon volume. Clear? So, in that case, the electric field E is equal to lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught r n cap. Now, here important point is this: E is inversely proportional to R. When R is increases, R is increases, E decreases. And E is inversely proportional to lambda, that is linear charge density, where R is the perpendicular distance of the point from the wire and n cap is the radial unit vector in the same plane normal to the wire passing through the point. So, the main important formula is only this one. So, you need to remember this. E is equal to lambda divided by 2 pi epsilon naught r n cap. Third is infinitely thin plane sheet of uniformly surface charge density lambda sigma. So, it will be E is equal to sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught n cap, where n cap is a unit vector normal to the plane and outward on either side. So, one question for you: on what factor E depends if we talk about the infinite thin plane sheet of uniform charge density sigma? The only factor is sigma. Our third case is, this one is second. Our third case is thin spherical cell of uniform surface charge density sigma. So, suppose we have a surface, spherical thin surface, this one, and if we talk about the charge is distributed over the surface of this spherical cell, and if a radius is r, If we talk about the electric field at point P and the distance from point P from the center is R, in that case the electric field E is equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R square R cap. Yes or no? And E is equal to 0. Electric field E equal to 0 if we talk about the point lie inside the spherical cell. So both cases are very important. Where R is the distance of point from the center of the cell, and R is the distance radius of the cell, Q of the total charge of the cell, and Q equal to 4 pi R square sigma. Clear? Now one question for you. If we talk about the electric field at a point P, due to thin spherical cell. So suppose this is a thin spherical cell, this one, and the charges is distributed over the sphere. Over the sphere. And this is center O. Now and another point P prime, this one, and the distance from the center is R prime, and the distance from the center is R, and the distance from a third point P double prime, third point is P double prime, and the distance is R triple prime. So what is the correct order of the electric field at point P, P prime and P triple prime, or we can say double prime, P double prime? What is the correct order? E, P, electric field at point P, electric field at point P prime, and electric field at P double prime. So what is the correct order? Please give me answer. Which one is greater, which one is smaller? Correct order means this one greater, this, or we can say this one, like this. Please solve. What is the correct order? What is the correct order? So we know the electric field solution. We know electric field at point P, or we can say at any given point, is equal to E is equal to, if we talk about the outside of this thin spherical cell, E is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square. Yes or no? E is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square. So from this relation, suppose this is a charge, and from this relation E and R square, E and R square, listen carefully, E and R square both are inversely proportional to each other. Inversely proportional. It means the value of E, it depends on only radial part. Only radial part. If the value of R is much greater as compared to other given points, in that case what? So E is, if R is high, in that case E is less, or we can say small. So electric field at point P is greater than electric field at P point, as P prime is greater than electric field at P double prime. If we talk about the at point P triple prime and the radial distance is R triple prime, in that case it is a electric field at point P triple prime is less. Now it is clear? Yes or no? So one last question. So there is a again a thin spherical cell, center O and charge is distributed over a spherical cell like this, and a point, suppose radius is R, and we want to calculate electric field at point P, at point P double prime, at point P and at point P double prime, at point P and at point P double prime. So this is P double prime and this is P prime. There are 2 points. First point is this one, second point is this one, and this one is center O, and this one is radius. Now what is the relation between the electric field for the both cases? What is the correct order? E P and E P prime and E double P prime. Answer the please solve this question. Please solve. We want to correct order. EP and EP. Which one is greater? If we talk about the radial distance at point P from point origin to at point P prime is equal to R, and from at point P double prime from the origin is R prime. So what is the correct order? This one, or we can say this one, or we can say this one. Which one is correct? First one, second one and third one. Which one is correct? EP prime is greater than EP double prime, EP prime is less than EP double prime, and EP prime is equal to EP double prime. Which one is correct? The answer is third one. Why? Yes. Why? Because electric field, if we talk about the electric field at inside this thin spherical cell, it will be 0 according to Gauss law, because according to Gauss law, total charge enclosed by the closed surface divided by epsilon naught. So what is the total charge enclosed by this closed thin spherical cell is equal to 0. That's why phi equal to 0 and E equal to 0. So in both cases the value of E is equal to 0. Clear? That's all for the today's lecture. Thank you for your attention. In upcoming lecture, or we can say in next lecture, we will learn another topic. Thank you for your attention.